need for my young sisters, mis hermanas, mis primas, to take a moment and really sit and think, do you really want kids? Hola, hola, hola a todos. It's tu prima favorita, Bobby here, and I just like to talk. Welcome back to my channel if you are not new here, and if you are new here, welcome to my channel. I am still experimenting with where I like to shoot in my house, and I thought that this was a very nice view, so I'm shooting from one of my favorite places, which is my living room floor. But that's not what I'm here to talk about today. What I'm here to talk about today is what sparked this video, which was a conversation that I was having with one of my friends. We were talking about the desire of what we want in our future, right? We talked about like if you want kids or you want marriage or whatever the case may be, and we kind of landed a while on the topic of children. Now me, no los quiero. You know, I am good where I'm at, and again, I'm not closed off to it because I might change my mind, I might not. But if you ask me right now, you asked me yesterday, you asked me 8 months from now, I'm still gonna be in the same place where I'm gonna be like, no thank you, no gracias. But I do have a lot of friends who do desire to be moms and to have children in the future. So we kind of landed on talking about having kids, and we were talking about being partnered with someone that you love so much that you want to have a baby, right? So that really got me into a conversation with her about, do not have children just because you love somebody, right? You have to make sure that that is something that you want for yourself, something that you truly know what it takes to be a mother, to be there for another person, to raise a child. It can't just be, oh, this is what you're supposed to do when you find somebody, or when you have a husband, or when you get married, or whatever. I'm supposed to have children now, right? Because I think that a lot of people have internalized that because that's just, I guess, the natural course of life. And I'm not speaking out against that at all. This is not a video telling you to not have children. This is not a video telling you to not want that life, to not want to be a mom. This is a video that is telling you that if you are undecided or you are not sure, you should take a bit more time to understand if that's something that you really want to do or something that you really desire to do. And I say that because a lot of people fall into that this is what I'm supposed to do, or this is what I've been told to do, with a lot of different things in their lives, and they come to realize later on that maybe it was something that they never wanted, or maybe it was something that they never really prepared themselves for, because they never thought about if this is something that they wanted for themselves, or how it would truly affect them, who they are, or where they went in the future. So my first point of this, and what I touched on with my friend, was number one, make sure you want to be a parent. Make sure you understand the responsibility of raising a human being, of rearing a child, of bringing another person into this life, another citizen into this country, or whatever country you might be in. Making sure that you understand the effort, the care, and the time that it takes to really be a parent. We hear a lot of stories out here today about how a lot of us didn't ask to be born, how a lot of our parents take it out on us because of the decisions that they made, or the way that they might feel like they were stifled in their life because they chose to have children, and we never even asked to be here. So the biggest thing that I would say, or one of the first points that I give to people or tell people, is make sure that this is something that you want to do, and make sure that you understand what it takes to bring another human being about this world. I say it all the time. It takes a lot to be a successful person on your own. It takes a lot to be a sane person in today's world on your own. It takes a lot to raise yourself even as an adult. It's taking a lot for me to raise me right now, and I'm a full-grown 30-something-year-old woman. So understand that when you decide to become a parent, that is inherently what you are agreeing to do for another person, for a completely different human being with a completely different mind than you, with a completely different body than you, with a completely different path that they're going to take or might take than you. Number two is, do not have children based on this is what you're supposed to do. Again, I said it in the beginning of the video, please make sure that it's something that you desire. You have to desire to want to give love, to want to care. You have to desire to want to go through those ups and downs with that child, because you can rear up a child in the way they're supposed to go, and at some point they're gonna have to make decisions for themselves, right? There is no such thing as a perfect kid. There is no such thing as a perfect parent either. But you have to make sure that this is something that you truly want, because again, there are going to be disagreements between you and your child. There are going to be things that you have to really break down to them that they're not going to understand. There are going to be times where they frustrate you, and you have to be able to find the beauty in those moments, because this is something that you desire to do. You desire to be a parent. You desire to teach them right from wrong, which means that you have agreed that you're going to go through those ups and downs and the throes and woes of also being a parent, as well as all of the positive things it brings. You can't just want a child or have a child based off of, this is the next step, this is what I'm supposed to do, because that alone is not going to prepare you to bring a human being into this world. Another thing that I think is really, really important is that people need to really think realistically about the love and the life that you are able to provide a child that you are bringing into this world. You have to really think, am I in a place emotionally where I can give what is necessary to be a parent? There are going to be times where you are going to be overstimulated. There are going to be times where you might miss the times where it was just you sitting up in your apartment making YouTube videos on the floor, and then you have a little one right here all the time, or a big one right here all the time. But you really have to think realistically, am I able to give love? Am I emotionally available? Am I physically available? Do I have time to have a child? And I'm not saying, you know, you got to be at home and locked up in the house with your children all day. You can do nannies, babysitters, daycare, school, whatever the case may be. But understand that those things are not stand-ins for parents, right? Those things will never replace a parent's love. Those things will never replace the care and the love that your children will look for from you. So you can't just think, oh, I have money, I'm gonna get a nanny. All right, and when your child is calling that nanny mama, you can't get mad at that. But that's besides the point. Well, no, it's not besides the point. It is actually a very big part of the point. You have to really think about, am I able to give love to this human being? Am I able to be there for them? And then also, what type of life am I able to provide for my child? Some people live really, really well on their own because they're only taking care of themselves, or they're barely taking care of themselves. But then when you think about the fact that you're going to bring a child into that equation, another human being, hopefully with somebody else, but let's be, you know, realistic here. That doesn't always happen at all. It doesn't always pan out like that. Can you provide for that child if something happens? And that's another reason why you can't just have a child with someone based off of love, because you might change once you get into the relationship. They might change. Y'all will not be the same people that y'all were when y'all were just single adults, or even two adults in a relationship with just each other. So if something happens to that partner, or something happens between y'all's relationship, is this child still something that you wanted to do or wanted to have? And if you only had a child based off of the fact that you love that person, well, if that person is no longer around, what's gonna happen then? And if that is where you're thinking from, then you're probably more than likely not emotionally mature enough or emotionally prepared to bring life into this world, if the only reason why you want to do it is because you love this person so much. But again, I say, like, back to the point of thinking realistically about the life that you can provide. We're talking about finances. We're talking about the love that you are able to give. We're talking about emotional maturity. I cannot tell you how many people, and you probably already know because you're on social media, you're on TikTok, you might be a victim of that, but how many of us out here are victims of emotionally immature parents? And if you haven't read that book, you really should read it, but I'm not gonna make a plug for that. This is not a video about that book. But there are so many of us who suffer because our parents were not emotionally mature enough to have us, to have our siblings, to have children. They did the best that they could with what they knew how, but how many of us are still healing or have had to heal so much from that? You have to think realistically about that. Am I ready to bring a person into this world knowing that I still have traumas that I am not healed from or that I'm healing from. And that's not to say that you have to be perfect when you have your child. You do not have to be perfect or have it all figured out when you decide to bring a child into this world. But you do have to think from that mindset. What are you doing to prepare yourself? What are you doing to take care of yourself so that you can take care of another person? I feel like if a lot of people thought more along the lines of that, thought more along how can I provide love and care for this mini person that I'm bringing into the world, that I'm teaching how to love and how to care, how to go forward and be a person in this life. Am I ready for that? If more people thought that way, they would probably get themselves ready beforehand, or they would probably rethink their decisions to bring this next generation in the world so they can sit up on TikTok and be like, I never asked to be born. It's not funny, but it's funny. It's not ha-ha funny, but it's like, yeah, something that we really need to think about. My last point that I'm gonna touch on, at least in this video, is you are only having children because you want to continue your lineage, especially those of y'all who talk about lineage in the guise of legacy. Because you hear a lot of people talking about, oh, I'm gonna leave a legacy behind and my children are gonna be my legacy and all that. A lot of people are confusing that with lineage, right? You are saying you want someone to carry on your name. You want someone to carry on your DNA. You want your last name to live on after you, or your essence to live on after you through your children. That doesn't mean that they are going to be as successful as you are, or they're gonna continue your businesses, or they're going to even live up to whatever standards you have created in your mind, that this magical unicorn child is going to enter this world and be so perfect and do everything that you never did, or whatever the case may be. You have to understand that there's a difference between lineage and legacy, and so many people are thinking of their lineage, but they're not thinking enough into these other things that are equally as important. There's nothing wrong with wanting to continue on your last name. There's nothing wrong with wanting to have children, wanting to have grandchildren, wanting to sow your seeds or your royal oats so that you can build a family off of that. But if you don't have all of these other foundational things prepared for that, if you have not done or are not doing the work to get yourself to be in a position financially, mentally, and physically where you can be a present parent, where you can be a loving parent, where you can be a giving parent, where you can parent your child in the way that they need to be parented so the world isn't parenting your children for you, you need to think about that first. You need to think about that first. If you are solely having a child based on the fact that you are so in love and so enamored with someone else, you need to fix that first. You need to find that love within yourself and that desire to be a parent, if being a parent is really what you say you want to be. And I will say, at the end of that conversation, my friend was like, well, dang, do I really want to be a parent? And again, I said the same thing with her. It is not me trying to discourage anybody. It's not me saying that you have to be this perfect person to real children. That's never going to happen. No one's ever going to become a perfect person. If you spend so much time trying to become a perfect person, you will run your own life into the ground. But you do need to think about these things if you are going to bring another human being into this world, especially if it's somebody that you are hoping can come into this world and be successful and live this fulfilling life and have all of these opportunities. You are the person that is going to guide them to and through and how to navigate those things. And if you haven't thought about that, then what are you really thinking about when you say that you want to have a child? And I'm just tu prima favorita that just likes to talk and give advice about these things, because I know what it's like to be a child of a parent who did the best that they could with what they had. And granted, I am appreciative of it and I'm thankful for it, but it was not always the best. There's a lot of things that went on in my childhood that I should not have had to deal with or should not have had to be put through as a child. And I just feel like if a lot of people in this world today really thought about these things, they could have moved smarter and made better decisions before they decided to have children, or waited a little bit longer before they did. And I'm grateful for being here. I love my life. I love mi misma, mis amigos, mis primos. I love what I do. But I will say that it took a lot of work for me to get here. And it seemed like I started working real early on because sis was going through it in her early childhood. I'm like, what did I do? But again, I just feel like those of us who have the knowledge and have the wherewithal, we have the books, we have the resources, we have everything at our fingertips to help us to prepare, to help us to really think and to really make informed decisions about what it is that we want to do with our lives, with our wombs, how we want to bring other people into this world and foster an environment where we can successfully bring up the next generation and the next generation and the next generation. And I feel like it is our diligence to do that, especially those of y'all who want children, to do that. And I'm not going to say, oh, to make the world a better place, but to produce better children. Okay, maybe better is not the word that I'm looking for, but more adults who are also thinking along the lines of that, right? Don't you want your children to come into a life where they feel loved? Don't you want them to come into a life where they feel provided for? Don't you want them to come into a life and just be so, I don't even know the word that I'm looking for, just to be so cared for? If I do decide to have children, I would love for my children to just recollect on their childhood in such a loving way. To not have to say, oh, my mom was fighting through the trenches and she worked so hard and I had to watch her struggle and I decided that that's not how I wanted to be, and I you know, struggle stories that we continue to hear. But how great is it when we hear, like, even for me, when I hear friends talk about their childhood in the most beautiful way, that their parents were ready for them, that their parents prepared a space for them, that they had their rooms painted and cribs put together for them, that their whole family was at the house when they got home from the hospital waiting for them, that there were villages created for these children before they were ever even born. And even if besides all of that, if none of that is something that you have access to in your life, at least for your child to be able to say that my mom, my dad, mi mama, mi papa, mis tios, whoever prepared a space for me to be here and to be successful and to be loved above all. They prepared themselves so that when I got here, they could prepare me for the world. And that's all I want to do. I work with kids. That's all I want to see. That's all I want to hear. So that was just on my heart after a conversation that I had with a friend. I would love to hear your thoughts. Tell me what you think. Again, I do not have children, so come for me in the comments, but be nice, you know, be nice. If you feel like, you know, I lack understanding or I'm ignorant to certain things or whatever the case may be, I would love to hear y'all's thoughts. I would love to see your comments. I would love to hear your feedback. Let's start the conversation. This is Tu Prima Favorita. Thank you for joining me here, and I will see you next time. Bye.